I've got some great news for you. For the first time ever, I'm going to do a live on YouTube. I'm going to respond for 2 hours to your general questions about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, the shared fantasy, healing and recovery following the dissolution of the relationship, and many, many other topics, divorce, custody, general questions for 2 hours, and then 1 hour with members only. I'm going to respond to personal questions and give personal advice, not only general. And all this is going to take place on the Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel. Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel. Google it or go to the description for a link. The live is going to take place on the 5th of January. 5th of January, mark it in your calendar. So, 2 hours, general questions about all these topics, and then another hour, personal advice, members only. This is not on my channel. Pay attention, it's not on my channel. It's on the Narcissism Summaries YouTube channel on January 5th. And I'm not going to repeat it another time. You're going to be there. See you all. When there's mortification, when the narcissist is forced to look in the mirror and not to filter what he sees, but to really, really confront the monster in the mirror, the Quasimodo that is staring back at him, the hunchback, who is no longer in Notre Dame, but right here at home with me, with you. So when the narcissist is faced with this hideous representation, which is him, it produces disorientation. But even more so, it produces terror. Now, terror is not fear. You know, we mentioned fears. We started with fears. Fears are anticipatory. Fears predict that something will happen. Fears are forms of catastrophizing. But terror is reactive. It's because something really, really frightening has happened. And mortification, having to confront reality, finally, especially about himself, leads the narcissist to a state of terror. His hypervigilance is all over the place. All kinds of defense mechanisms kick in. Splitting, denial, magical thinking. Mortification is when the narcissist sees himself through other people's eyes. Now, this is not necessarily all bad. For example, that's precisely what I do in cold therapy. I re-traumatize the narcissist and force him to see how small and insignificant he is. By re-traumatizing him, I take him back to early childhood when he had been really helpless and when he couldn't predict the capricious and arbitrary and vicious and cruel behavior of adults around him, and when he had been traumatized. So that's not an entirely negative. Narcissists would tend to surround themselves, because they know this, because they know the only chance at healing, the only chance of reintegrating with the true self, the only chance of escaping the hostage situation. They know the only chance is when they are mortified. So they surround themselves with people who have the potential to cause mortification. So, for example, consider the narcissist's intimate partners. Some narcissists would tend to surround themselves with promiscuous, labile, and dysregulated women. Why? Because these women guarantee mortification, and only mortification guarantees freedom from commitment and the possibility of the adventure of the next shared fantasy, but also because mortification guarantees a sense of, even a temporary sense of livation from the onerous, inexorable false self. So these narcissists would find homemakers, homely domestic women, and so on, would find them unexciting. They would feel dead around such women. Only mortification makes these narcissists feel alive and sexually aroused. This mortification involves sadism, masochism, and libido maximized, and the recreation of the primary unresolved conflict with mother. Because remember, mother was the first one to inflict mortification on the child. This is why the child created narcissism as a defense against mortification. So these women that the narcissist chooses, the labile, broken, damaged, mentally ill women, and so on, they're pawns. The narcissist selects them to fulfill roles, first in the shared fantasy, and then in the liberating mortification anti-fantasy. These women first need to be integrated into a shared psychosis, into a shared fantasy, but then their role is to re-traumatize the narcissist. The narcissist uses these women to reenact the unresolved conflict with his mother. The conflict, the mother of all conflicts, the conflict that created the mega mortification that led to the creation of pathological narcissism. He keeps hoping that with this woman or that woman, labile, dysregulated, crazy, cheating, promiscuous, and so on and so forth, these kind of women will traumatize him, re-traumatize him exactly as his mother did, and maybe there's a way out of the false self. Maybe he will be free. First of the false self for a few, I don't know, minutes, days, hours, and then free to move on to the next shared fantasy. And some women say, we cheated on the narcissist because we felt that this is what he wanted. We felt that this way we will please him, we will prove him right. The narcissist doesn't push his intimate partners away. He pushes his intimate partners to push him away. And of course, to tie in all the recent videos, the COVID-19 pandemic is a form of collective mortification. We have become a narcissistic, psychopathic civilization. And the pandemic is a wake-up call. You are small, you're insignificant, you don't know everything. You can't do everything. You're not omnipotent. You're not all-powerful. You're not all-knowing. You're not godlike. You're just specks of dust. You're nothing. So it's collective mortification. And if the narcissist is lucky and he goes through the mortification phase, the re-traumatization phase, sometimes with the agency of a promiscuous woman or labile woman, and he goes through this phase, and he's able to integrate and internalize the insight that he is actually very sick, this may be the first step in a therapeutic process of healing. And this is what I create artificially in cold therapy. I create an artificial process of re-traumatization and mortification, which opens the door to the possibility of healing by integrating and accepting the insight, the understanding. Hey, I'm very sick, I'm a narcissist. Narcissism is mental illness. I'm mentally ill. I'm not the first to suggest this. Heidelberg, Anna Freud, I mean, they all realized that the first step towards healing is the acceptance of the illness, but that it is very traumatic. When a person realizes, it's like getting news that you have COVID-19 or getting news that you have cancer. It's shocking, it's disorienting, it's frightening, it's terror. Let's go back to early childhood. Early childhood events of mortification are crucial in teaching the baby to distinguish between external and internal. Like, when you're mortified, you suddenly realize someone mortified you. So it's like the baby suddenly gets it. There's the baby and there's mother, mortifying mother. So the baby also begins to form defenses, to form ego boundaries. And while doing this, the baby realizes his own limitations. And he learns to delay gratification. And he learns to select among options and make decisions. So mortification is universal. Everyone goes through mortifications in early childhood, because in early childhood we are helpless, we are small, we are weak and stupid. And we're surrounded by godlike adults. That's very, very traumatizing and mortifying. But in the vast majority of cases with healthy and normal people, mortification leads to good places, to the development of functional constructs, behaviors, and traits. Of course, it is possible to be overtaken by multiple internal and external mortifications, by multiple what we call today traumas. And it's possible to be so overwhelmed by by mortifications, multiple mortifications, that we start to repress them. We start to forget, to kind of forcibly forget them. We start to dissociate, cut them off. And so repression and dissociation become indispensable when the number of mortifications and the character, the nature of mortifications is such that they can no longer be tolerated. They're intolerable, unbearable. And we then also develop compensatory cognitive deficits, omnipotent or omniscient grandiosity, entitlement, invincibility, paranoid projection, magical thinking, and so on. Bergler and Maldonado remind us that pathological secondary narcissism is a reaction to the loss of infantile omnipotent delusions and the loss of a good and meaningful object, mother in this case. And in the child's mind, mother is associated with ideal. She's perfect, she's ideal. And he loses mother. He not only loses mother, but he loses the very concept of the ideal, of the perfect. It's a loss that threatens continuity, stability, coherence, and well-being of the personality itself. Now, all of us cope with this, healthy people cope with this, by transitioning from splitting to object relations, to a more nuanced picture of the world. If you look at mother as ideal and you lose her, you have two options. It's okay, I lost mother as an ideal. I lost the very concept of the ideal, of the perfect. And so the alternative is all bad, total imperfection. And this is called splitting, good and bad, dichotomous thinking, black and white, right and wrong. But the vast majority of healthy, normal people develop a nuanced picture. So, okay, mother is not all bad, but not all good. Everyone has a mixture of bad and good, right and wrong. In adulthood, self-inflicted internal mortification, the realization that one is less than perfect, the realization that you have shortcomings, limitations, failings, that you're bound to be defeated and fail. These self-inflicted internal mortifications are usually founded on reality in healthy people. But in the narcissist, internal mortification is founded on distortions of reality. And the narcissist uses internal mortification to compensate for an external mortification, to disguise it, and vice versa. He uses an external mortification to compensate for an internal mortification. Now, I know you didn't get it. I didn't get it at first. Let's try again. Narcissist is externally mortified. For example, he's humiliated in public by someone. His wife cheats on him. Something happened that mortified him, that challenged his self-perception as grandiose, perfect, brilliant, irresistible, amazing, sui generis, etc., etc. And so he's, for the first time, or for the 100th time, forced to face the fact that his self-perception is wrong, that his grandiosity is ludicrous. Sometimes such external mortification is totally unacceptable. Narcissist feels overwhelmed by it. So what he does, he invents an internal mortification. And he says, for example, it is all my fault.